Daddy.
What's going on, sweetie?
Something feels weird. Something's changing.
You remember the tools we taught you, right?
Pencil, desk, paper, shoes. You're weird.
Everything okay, Charlie?
It happened again.
What happened?
The bad thing.
The bad thing? Oh girl, I could tell you a lot about the bad thing. We don't have that many hours in the day though. It's time for another episode of The Horror of Babylon, where stupid people say stupid shit. Spoiler warning for all things Firestarter. Trigger warning for pedophilia and burns. Please like, share and subscribe this terrible show. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. You probably won't regret giving us money.
Welcome to episode 22 of The Horror of Babylon. I am Ryan. With me as always is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Today we are talking about Firestarter 2022, the latest adaptation of Stephen King's novel, which we have just gotten back from the theater from viewing it.
Yeah. I don't know what the phrase we want to use is yet.
Okay, so before we get into everything, this is our last episode of Firestarter coverage. So I just want to ask you, Daniel, where we're standing on the precipice of being done with the story with Charlie and Andy. What are your just kind of general thoughts on Firestarter as a whole? The book, the movie, just in general.
On Firestarter as a whole, I really like it. It has a bunch of stuff in it that specifically appeals to me. I've told you this a million times, and I don't know why. Something about young female psychic characters always gets me invested. I like The Ring or Carrie, Firestarter. It shows up in anime all the time, which is probably why I watch so much of it.
Yep.
I also love Spies. Mm-hmm. Big fan of 007, Tom Clancy nonsense, and it's like... Stephen King went, I want to write a spy novel, and this is what he did with it.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of spy thriller elements.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I read it for the first time last year, and I thought it was pretty good. And then I reread it for the podcast, and I was like, hey, you know what? I actually think I like this a lot more the second time. And the original movie is really great, and Firestarter 2 is not perfect, but it's fun.
Interesting.
It's very fun. It's very interesting.
It's one of those movies where I think you could get a group of people together and have a good time watching it.
Yeah, like it's definitely like let's have some beers, maybe we'll play some Magic or some board games while we're watching. Like, definitely have a good time.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about the team that brought this together.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Keith Thomas was the director, and the writer was Scott Teems, who also wrote Halloween Kills. Did you see the latest Halloween?
I didn't. I specifically avoided the new Halloween. And then I was at a magic shop, and they played a pirated version of it while we did a Friday Night Magic.
That's fun.
And it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I know that that has its fans, but I was sitting there watching, and I was just like, I don't know, guys. I've seen good Halloween movies, and I've seen bad Halloween movies, and this swings a lot closer to the bad side.
But you liked the new Scream, right?
I loved the new Scream.
You did not like the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I hated the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So we need a new Friday the 13th and a new Nightmare on Elm Street to see how they stack up.
Yeah. I would actually really enjoy that. I would love to do like an analysis of what remakes or sequels work versus what ones don't.
For you personally, or just like for a general audience, or
Both.
that could be fun.
Yeah, try to figure out like what is it about this that is working for me versus what is it about this that didn't.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes, I think I have myself figured out, but then I watch something and I'm like, oh, I really feel like I should like this, but I don't, or I really feel like I shouldn't like this, but I do.
And a lot of people thought I was going to hate the new Scream too, because they were like, no, we know Daniel's hot takes. And then I watched it and I was like, I wouldn't say it's the best one, but it's better than 3. Probably better than 4. It's close. That would require me to get into Scream too much. And you haven't seen any of the Screams, have you?
I haven't seen any of the Scream movies.
That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting marathon.
Slashers is like my least. I have seen fewer slashers than pretty much any other horror genre.
Yeah, I actually like it because it sort of lampoons the slasher genre.
Yeah, and I don't dislike slashers.
It's not your top of your list for the subgenres.
Yeah, for horror, I really sort of lean more towards like horror, fantasy, monsters, stuff with supernatural elements.
Supernatural stuff usually ranks higher for me. Body horror is pretty high for me.
Speaking
probably
of
why I like Hellraiser so much.
There was some fun body horror in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. Let's start with structure and themes. We'll, of course, with structure here, there's a lot to talk about because when we covered the book way back when, we talked about what it would be like to see this story chronologically as opposed to where we jump in with them on the run and then we fill in the backstory through flashbacks. What did you think about which is what we get in this movie? It's all chronological.
I think it's actually to the movie's detriment. I think that just having it to compare to the book, and I'm sorry that if you don't want me, some people are like, you shouldn't compare it to the book. I'm like, well then don't adapt the book.
I mean that's what we do.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, the book gives you this sense of mystery. The chapters are super short, so it kind of leaves you with these tiny little cliffhangers. Kind of reminds me almost of like a Dan Brown novel. Yeah. So it reads super fast. I finished that book way faster than I normally read books because of that, And you start off, you're like, well, why are they running? What is this push? You don't quite understand it at first. And you get invested because you want to have them uncover it, and then you go into their memories, and then you go into other areas where, like, oh, the captain is talking about Lot 6, and now you're in the past, and they're talking about how their minds were getting linked. And a lot of that is kind of missing in this movie, and I think that it could have, honestly, I think this movie should have been a half hour longer.
I agree it should have been a little longer. I like that it wasn't a 3-hour movie. Yeah. Because I feel like every other movie you see these days are 3 hours long.
And there's definitely stuff you could cut if you want to adapt it.
Yeah, but I do agree it should have been a little longer. I kind of like that it was chronological, but I agree I don't think it worked.
Yeah.
I have different reasons for why I don't think it worked, but it pertains to a particular character, so I'm going to table that for now.
Okay, I can't wait.
What about themes? What jumped out at you as terms of themes in this movie?
They were a little bit more explicit with that whole puberty allegory.
Yeah, it was definitely more on the nose.
It felt like...
Specifically because they age her up from like 5, 6 to being 12.
Yeah, and I hate when movies talk down to the audience, and I'm not sure that was the intention, but that's what it felt like was, oh, something's going on with your body? Do you want me to get your mother for you?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so that's what we're doing.
I mean, that is kind of like a genuine dad moment, though. That's like when my daughter was teetering on that age where it's like it could happen any time now. Anytime she said that anything was even maybe slightly, I kind of feel where I was like, "Where's your mom? Where's your mom? We need her in here."
I agree that that's super common, but when I'm thinking about the themes in the book versus how they portrayed it in the movie, it just stuck out more to me.
Yeah, it was less subtle.
Yeah.
Much less subtle.
Um,
And I feel like the whole government conspiracy end of it was there, but it was more toned down.
it was super toned down. And I honestly think that's where you could probably have gotten it to be a little bit longer.
Developing the shop a little bit more.
Because they're definitely not good guys,
No.
but there's kind of, twisted logic to a lot of the shit they do.
Yeah.
And I feel that kind of stuff's important when you're trying to create a nuanced universe or nuanced characters. For this, it just felt like Captain was evil Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
It almost felt like that's how they wanted to write the character. Like, what if Magneto was in charge of the mutant school?
I would read that comic.
I'm pretty
So
sure I'm pretty sure that comic's been done.
Yeah, I would assume it has, but I'm not aware of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into characters, and of course we're going to start with our girl, Charlie McGee. She is played by Ryan Kira Armstrong in this new adaptation. Like we said, the character is aged up, which is, just on that real quick, I feel like that's a trend in movies today. Whenever something's being adapted, they always make the kids older than they are in the source material. They did that with the It movies.
I don't know the real reason. I have a theory. And it's that slightly older children, just on average, tend to be better actors.
That is probably true. I also think it's because they tend to write kids a lot wittier than they used to, and that comes across better with older kids.
With older kids. Teenage witticisms, or even some people write them like they're freaking college-age students. It doesn't sound as good when it's coming out of a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old, as opposed to like a 10 or 11-year-old.
So, looking at her IMDb page, she was in It Chapter 2. She was the little girl with the birthmark from under the bleachers. She was also in Black Widow. She was one of the young students at the what's the place called?
I don't know. I didn't see Black Widow.
I mean, well, they say it in Avengers. The place where she's trained.
I know that it had a lot of ballerina allegories.
Yeah.
So it's probably something like the studio.
It's something like that. The Red Room. Yeah.
The Red Room?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's one of the little girls in the Red Room. And she's also, which I haven't seen, but she's in a lot of episodes of American Horror Story.
Oh.
So she actually has a pretty good repertoire here. I thought she was good. I had some issues with the character writing-wise, but in terms of performance...
I agree with that. I think she did a good job with what she was given.
Yeah.
I feel that there were a couple little things, but I would either chalk that up to writing or directing. It's right in the trailer, the liar, liar, pants on fire line.
That was awkward.
I thought that was so freaking cringy.
Yeah.
I thought it was bad in the trailer. It's not any better in the movie.
No.
I was hoping it would be better, but I couldn't imagine a scenario where it was, and it wasn't.
No, and just real quick, like, her killing that woman was kind of hard to watch for me.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get to that whole last scene later.
She killed the random unarmed woman, but John Rainbird.
No. Yeah, we'll get to that. I don't want to blow the load early. In terms of like the character herself, I thought that her portrayal early in the movie was good. I think that's how a girl with those types of powers, dealing with middle school and dealing with other people and bullies, I can definitely see where somebody who is pyrokinetic would struggle to keep a hold of her powers. You know, when you're hitting that cusp of puberty and you're having all these big emotions and having like these emotional reactions to things that your peers do.
You already want to burn the world to the ground, and now you can.
Yeah, middle school's hard enough for regular people, let alone somebody who can set people on fire with their mind.
Yeah. I think the movie also made, and it seemed to change its mind on this at different intervals, which is why I told you I had these like sort of roller coaster thoughts. early on especially, it almost seemed like they were trying to write her to be more creepy.
Yeah.
And again, big fan of the book. And I talked about this at length. Stephen King can write kids.
Yeah.
She's written like a kid, and just like an average little kid who happens to be in this extreme circumstance in the book. And in this movie, she's written more like creepy movie kid at certain points. You know, and it just, that kind of stuck out to me a little bit, especially because I liked how, and even in the OG Firestarter movie, she felt like a little girl, being a little girl for most of it.
It just occurred to me, I want to bring it up now. The crow she kills in the trailer.
It wasn't in the movie.
It wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, no. I had to make my Randall Flagg joke about the jean jacket she stole.
Okay, so I believe the denim jacket was purposeful to be a reference, but not to Randall Flagg.
Oh, yeah?
Because Drew Barrymore wears a denim jacket in the original movie.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I did, the montage was also kind of weird. They give her, like, a freaking training montage
in the forest. Yeah.
And that montage either needed to not be there or needed to be a lot longer, because her training consisted of learning to light a single fire.
I mean, that could have just been a scene. Like, you could have had a scene where she has to keep herself warm. She makes a fire to try and keep herself warm.
And she messes up, and then she does it.
Yeah.
But they framed it as a training montage with the music and the cuts.
It was weird.
That's a straight up directing problem.
Or you could have leaned harder into it and made it like a more actual montage. Like maybe she like
a lot more training.
Like she sets up pine cones on a log and she tries to like She tries to flame the pine cones and knock
finger
them
guns.
Yeah, finger guns. Finger gun Charlie McGee. All right. Let's move on. We're going to talk more about Charlie as we go. Okay, so Andy McGee, who is portrayed by Zac Efron in this new movie, which I was accused earlier by my partner. She said, you only want to see this movie because Zac Efron's in it. And I said, you're wrong, but you're also kind of right.
I can't get over how ripped he was, like every
Yeah.
time he had his shirt off in the movie.
Yeah.
And part of that kind of makes sense. You're on the run from government agents, you want to be in shape.
Yeah.
But they
Not that in shape, though.
But they never kind of portrayed him as being in shape for that reason. He was just Zac Efron's hot. Let's show off his body.
Yeah, which here's the thing. Like, if you're gonna get somebody that hot, you should probably show them without their shirt. But it did take me out of it for a minute because there's no reason for. Yes, I agree that he would want to try and stay in shape, but not to that level. I mean, that's like
and
personal trainer level.
And they never portrayed it as that's the reason why he has, like...
Yeah, you never see him doing push-ups or sit-ups or anything. I mean...
They flat out show that he's, like, getting physically crippled from using his power.
Mm-hmm.
I, like, in my head, I kind of pictured, you know, Andy having sort of like a dad bod.
Yeah.
Not, like, super overweight, but he's just kind of out because what's he doing?
Well, to me, like... if you looked at, like, when I saw him in the trailer,
mm-hmm.
he looks kind of thinner. He looks kind of emaciated.
Yeah. Oh, like when he's wearing his clothes, yeah.
Yeah, especially, like, maybe not so much just as Andy, but thinking about Zac Efron and other roles I've seen him in, he looks a little older, a little thinner, a little more worn down.
Yeah.
So the abs don't really go with that either. But, I mean, it's not like you're going to tell Zac Efron, hey, you need to put on some meat for this role.
Not for this 90-minute movie.
And if I were him, I'd say, well, fuck you, no.
Yeah. Just film me with the shirt on.
But him in general, I thought he did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, you know, he kind of has a reputation, and I feel like he's kind of getting past these days, but he's had a reputation as just being a pretty boy actor, but I really think he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, he did fine in this role.
He's no Owen Teague.
Yeah.
But I think he has some acting chops for sure. Probably, early spoiler, what might end up being my king is how they portray the push.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Like, he cracks his neck, and then, like, the eye twitch, and then you see he, like, the camera jerks and his eyes start bleeding. I actually thought that was really great.
I had mixed feelings about it. I liked it. It seemed a little dramatic at some points. It almost seemed like Anime Showdown-ish to me, especially when he stepped out of the farmhouse.
Farm, yeah.
And he's cracking his necks, and I'm like, oh, he's going
It's
going
gonna be a
super
fight.
push.
Yeah. No, I agree. It did, but I kind of like that. I don't know.
I liked the eye bleeding because we discussed this when we talked about the book. Like, how do you portray the push?
It's hard.
How do you? And I liked that they showed the people he was using it on. Their pupils are dilating.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing a physical reaction. I'm like, that's a good way to get that across.
And in the original movie, all they really do is like he puts his fingers to his head, and then they have that. Yeah, which gets the point across.
Yeah.
But this, it feels like there's more of a toll on him.
Yeah.
Obviously,
And you can feel that physical strain.
which I really liked, and I thought Zach did a great job with it. Zach, like we're gym buddies. We're on a first name basis.
Yeah.
And then
I'm gonna kidnap him for you.
And then I've said this on previous episodes. I just really like Andy McGee as a character. He's the good Stephen King dad. He's just all about his kid. That's all that matters. Everything he does is for his kid. And I want to bring Vicky into it here because I feel like there's a lot to talk about there because obviously she has a bigger role in this almost than even in the book.
Oh yeah.
Which is a change that there's some good and there's some bad. But first, as it relates to Andy McGee, they have this whole conflict in the beginning of the movie where she wants to train Charlie and he wants to just ignore it, tell her to shove it down. Very Hank Hill, put your feelings in a box and hope they go away kind of approach.
That girl ain't right. She lighting fires.
She's right. Oh, it's not even 5 a.m. and that girl ain't right.
She doesn't even use clean burning propane.
She doesn't need propane. She can cook those steaks on her own.
Taste the Charlie.
Well, Hank would be part of the shop because she eliminates the need for propane.
Yeah.
She can heat the home. She can cook the food. She can heat the water. Like, why even buy propane?
Strickland sent me.
Cap Strickland.
Is it clear I've been watching way too much King of the Hill?
No, I don't think you can watch too much King of the Hill. I don't remember what it was. Okay, so,
Them all.
Andy and Vicky, they have this fight where I'm kind of siding with Vicky. Like, yeah, you should probably train her, but she dies, and you get to see kind of like this mini arc where Andy like realizes that she's right, and it took her death to get him to see that, and that these people aren't going to stop, and her powers aren't going to go away, and she kind of needs to learn to get a hold of it. And then you get the scene with the cat.
Yeah.
Which I really like the scene with the cat. If you told me that Stephen King wrote that scene, I would believe you.
That might be my King. I'm debating.
Yeah, it's really good. Like,
I laughed though. We laughed so loud in
Yeah.
the theater when they set that cat on fire.
I'm glad there were not a lot of people there. That was kind of inappropriate, but I mean that's what we do.
Dusted and the Joker all over again.
Yeah.
Vicky was fine, I guess. It's another one of those things where I feel the line delivery wasn't what it should have been. I don't think the actress did a bad job with it.
She was okay.
Yeah, she was passable, which might not be the highest praise an actress wants.
Sydney Lemon. I'm not familiar with her.
Sydney Lemon, you get a C+.
I'll give her a B-. I think she's better than that. Just looking at her IMDb page real quick.
She has a lot on here.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here, nothing that I've seen, but I mean, she was fine. My issue with it wasn't her acting, and it wasn't that they included her more for the sake of it. What didn't work for me, and this is what I was talking about with it being chronological, is that because they did it from the beginning, logically they have to have a lot more with Vicky in there.
Yeah.
And to me, that detracted from Andy and Charlie's relationship.
Which is kind of the backbone of the entire novel.
Right. And they felt less developed. You had like almost no time with them on the run together, which kind of relates to what you were saying, where you want to start with them on the run because that develops the story more and develops their relationship
I do
more.
think that works better in novel form.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's my preference for just this story in general.
And that's the story is, if you boiled it down to one thing, I would say it's about a dad and a daughter and their relationship.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of that, but not as much.
I don't feel we got enough.
Yeah.
Which also goes back to me saying I think the movie needed to be longer.
Yeah. I do think it could have been 15, 20 minutes longer and it wouldn't have hurt
I
at all.
honestly feel somebody walked into this director's office, handed him the book, and went, this 600-page book, yeah, we want it in 90 minutes.
Which I think you could do a version of the story in 90... How long was the original movie? Control F, run. The original movie is an hour and 54 minutes.
It's about almost 20 minutes longer.
Yeah.
And I said about a half hour, so...
Yeah. I think you could do a somewhat satisfactory version of the story in 90 minutes, but obviously it didn't work how they did it.
I probably would have cut Vicky out if you wanted to do a 90-minute version.
Yeah, and
it would have been just mostly them on the run, kind of condensed.
It's hard to kind of speculate, but yeah, I think that may have worked better.
Yeah. I say this about all Stephen King adaptations these days, is I think they just work better as like a Netflix miniseries.
Yeah, just longer.
Yeah. Here's four hour-long episodes. You don't have to watch them all.
Yeah. No, I think that would have worked better. Or, just make the movie 2 hours instead of 90 minutes, like you said.
Yeah.
But...
where were we at? I got sidetracked with Vicky.
Let's talk about John Rainbird.
Oh, the God.
And I'll let you kick that off.
In the book, I don't think anyone can deny that there are strong pedophilic undertones.
No. I want to know her. Oh, John!
No, not like that.
Not in a biblical sense.
And they completely remove that. They make him also a person who was exposed to Lot 6. So John Rainbird has psychic powers now.
Yeah, and Andy had powers prior to getting Lot 6.
Yeah. They go through great pains to try to make John Rainbird sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I can think of for this is they thought the pedophilic undertones were creepy. Which they are, but that's kind of the point.
I went into this movie expecting all of that to be removed. So I'm not super upset about it because I kind of knew they would do that.
Yeah, but when you take that away from them, what's left? You got a dude who's an assassin and Native American.
Yeah.
And normally I'd say, well, they don't want to portray the minority as bad, but they burned the black woman alive, the captain. So that can't be the reasoning.
I'm not saying it worked. I'm just saying
that you understand.
Well, no, not even that. I'm just saying that's what I thought was going to happen going in. Like
But also when you go in knowing the source material, and you have Charlie doesn't kill John Rainbird, he saves her life, and then at the end of the movie when she's on the beach and doesn't know what to do, he holds her hand and picks her up and walks off with her like his child bride.
I was completely perplexed, and I don't understand that ending at all.
And I understand that you cut out all that pedophilic shit, but people who've read the book are still going to be thinking that in the back of their heads. It's like, you may not have noticed, but your brain did, sort of thing.
I wish I had, like, an actual, like, statistic, but, like, people who've read the book and who will watch this movie have got to be, like, less than 10% of the whole audience, though.
I don't know. That theater was pretty empty. So, I mean, how big is the audience even going to be, really?
Yeah, but, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, the audience could be 10 people, and still, if one person... So, I mean, we had 5 people in that theater. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the 3 other people didn't read the book. So that's 40% of the audience in our theater had read the book, and 60% had not.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying this is right, but movie producers know that, and they don't care.
It also felt like they didn't know what to do with John Rainbird.
Yeah, he was...
Because at one point he was this completely, I'm going to murder these 5 innocent cops to get to my target. Mm-hmm. And then the next, he's saving Charlie's life because, we are the same, she and I.
He wasn't developed in any way.
At all.
It didn't...
Yeah.
It would have made more sense if he was just like the agent, just like the assassin, the agent. I'm here to kill these people, and that's all. But then, like you said, he ends up saving her, and it's like, why did he save her? Like, what's going on? You didn't explain this at all. I mean, I don't want you to hand it to me.
And Charlie doesn't kill him because, she sees the blood on her face, even though her father's the one who told her to burn everything to the ground.
He did push her, though.
Yeah.
So she didn't... Initially, she wasn't killing those people by choice. She did continue to kill people once the push wore off.
She also killed people to get in there.
Yeah.
Mr. Agent, do you have a gun? Oh, you lying to me, boy?
It was very brutal. When she killed the guy in the parking garage, they took the time to establish that he was a regular dude and he was going home to his pregnant wife, and that was kind of brutal.
And that kind of even goes back to what Andy or Cooper, whatever. Can we talk about that for a minute? Why did they change his name?
I don't know. It was silly.
They arbitrarily changed his name to where Andy McGee is a pseudonym or an alias.
They also arbitrarily give him the power to see the future at the beginning of the movie before he has Lot 6, and then never do a thing about it.
Yeah.
I mean...
those kinds of changes irritate me more than anything else because I just sit there and I have to go, well, why?
It would have been something if they, incorporated that power into the movie.
Yeah, like he had some sort of premonition or he knew how the story was going to end or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was just, right there at the end where he's in the chair and Cap is there with him, he's like, Charlie, I saw this was how it was going to go down, and there's nothing I could do to save myself, but I can save you. And then he pushes her.
Yeah, something like that.
As much as I disliked the third act, I did like him pushing her.
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah, that was, and then her setting Cap on fire. Let's jump into Cap. So Captain Hollister, I'm not going to call them Cap anymore because it makes me mad. Gloria Reuben. Just in terms of performance, I thought she did a good job. At the beginning of the movie, when she's talking to Dr. Wanless...
How would you rate Firestarter, Ryan? That just popped up on the IMDb.
Don't prompt me to rate.
Not right now. Let him sleep on it.
She kind of tries to appear very genuine and like, oh yeah, we're here to help. We're trying to help people, blah, blah, blah. And then that kind of slowly erodes through the movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a very different take on the character. But the Cap from the book would not have worked in the movie that they made. Because, I mean, them being prisoners held by the shop never really happens.
Yeah.
So, and that's where most of Cap's story comes in the book, so, I don't know.
I also don't know. I don't really know how to feel about her. She, again, fine. Changing the character's race and sex didn't really bother me.
It doesn't matter in this role.
But not much was done with her other than her going, this is a place where we recruit young special people. And I'm sitting there like, you're playing this like this is an X-Men film.
I was expecting Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver to be in like the cell over.
And there's like... And I'm sitting there going, well, who else is down here?
Yeah, I know.
I thought Charlie was supposed to be the first of her kind. You have this facility, and you're saying that this is where you... Was that just a line she was feeding Charlie?
We've got Danny Torrance. We've got Ellie Creed. We've got...
Randall Flagg's down in cell 606.
Oh, yeah. He's in like the Supreme lockdown, like the Hannibal-esque lockdown.
We don't know where he keeps getting all this denim. Charlie, are you bringing it to him?
I don't know. Obviously, the character just wasn't well developed, but if we're prioritizing characters to develop, then Cap isn't exactly high on that list anyway.
I would have taken more of Andy and Charlie.
Yeah.
The eye condoms were an interesting choice.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I feel that because it only exists for like a couple of. I just think it would have been easier for them to go. He's having too many brain aneurysms. He only has one push left, or he says he only has one push left.
Yeah, I guess it was just supposed to be a device to get them out of,
Saying, why isn't he trying something?
Yeah, why doesn't he just push them and get them out of
Because
the
they
situation?
obviously cut out, like, the whole him saving it for that one instance because they were captured.
Yeah, I mean, but in the book and in the original movie, like, they trank them and then they keep them drugged. Like, isn't that a good explanation, too?
Yeah. I honestly, this, like, super high-tech sci-fi anti-psychic weaponry, again, it felt very Marvel-esque, and then you have Kat talking about her special school. I don't know.
I feel like...
That all felt off to me.
I definitely felt like they wrote this for, like, the Marvel age audience.
A mix between people who are exposed to this sort of genre through Stranger Things and people who like Marvel movies.
That's another thing I haven't seen at all. I haven't seen a single episode of Stranger Things.
Watch season 1 and then stop.
Well, I saw the first 30 seconds of the first episode. Beck and I turned it on. She's like, the music is creepy. Stop it. I said, okay.
It doesn't get any better, trust me.
And that was Stranger Things, everybody. And just real quick on Dr. Wanless, Kurtwood Smith, who everybody knows from That 70s Show, and I also am familiar with for various roles in Star Trek. His scene was cool.
His scene felt very much like from the book.
Yeah.
Terminator. They changed some things, which was fine, but they kept that same tone. They kept the characters, like the spirit of the character, the same. Like, you can change stuff and keep the spirit of the. That's probably what I'm thinking about with Rainbird. Is like, what was left of him was just a dude that existed to fill in scenes.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Did you catch the name of the old folks home that he was in?
No.
There's the Bronson Pinchot, which is the scientist from the book that kills himself with the disposal.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, we should talk about the farmer, Irv.
Manders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're telling me the TV's lying to me?
I can't believe the TV thing. I feel...
I have real mixed feelings about every scene that he was in.
Okay, so we made jokes about him in the book and in the original movie about, did I wake up in Russia this morning, and how he's kind of quick to go for his gun. But putting all that aside, like, the character had some integrity.
Yeah.
And I feel like they kind of took that away in this movie.
Again, just weird arbitrary changes.
Just, they kind of make him into a joke, which feels weird. I mean, yes, they give him, like, the super sappy backstory, but...
And again, Charlie comes out and goes, oh, you're the one who paralyzed your wife. But she says it's okay.
She says she forgives him for something that happened 30 years ago.
And I'm sitting there like, the time that they took to, establish this change and show it could have literally just been spent with Charlie and Andy.
Yeah.
Like, doing something fucking cute. Or on the road, Like, you could have just had John Rainbird fill in for every other spy in the book that was chasing them.
I mean, they combined, like... Well, I was going to say that they combined all three scientists into one character, but not really, because they didn't even have, like, a Hochstetter, Bronson Pinchot-esque character at all.
They didn't have any of, like, that second act.
Yeah.
Let's get Charlie to burn stuff.
Yeah, none of that was in there.
Yeah.
And, like, none of the experiments were in there because she was never a prisoner, which kind of detracts from the whole, like, government conspiracy end of it.
And that's the stuff that Daniel really liked.
Yeah. That's the whole Dale Gribble end of it.
Yeah.
Was Dale the kid?
Yeah.
Dale, what the hell are you doing?
We started making King of the Hill jokes as soon as we heard the name.
Oh.
Go home to Nancy. John Rainbird's gonna get your wife.
Okay. Jumping into scary shit.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Not super scary.
Not super. and it's weird. I think the movie, and I might be wrong, I think the movie thought it was scarier than it was.
They're definitely, like, we're using the music to try and portray some scenes of scary.
And they used John Carpenter scores.
Which were good.
He's a master of music.
Yeah.
But, and it's a Blumhouse movie. They're known for putting out R-rated horror movies.
Yeah. The only thing that I thought was scary was the body horror when Vicky gets burned. And, like, they're trying to wrap up her arms.
I was going to say, showing the burns of her and that one agent and the cat.
Yeah.
I was like, that's actually some pretty good effects.
Yeah.
That stuff kind of worked. I like body horror.
I guess it was kind of creepy when, like, her body falls out, but it didn't get me the same way as it does in the book in the original movie, where they're searching and Andy's searching
and there's this build up.
Yeah.
It just she kind of flops out. Charlie loses her shit, and then they move on.
It's definitely less scary than how it was in the book in the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall the scare factor was pretty low. Granted, I didn't expect to go into this movie and get super scared.
Because the book isn't scary.
Yeah.
There's some definite, like, King-isms in it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're, like, ranking Stephen King's, like, top 5 scariest books, Firestarter's not going to get near it.
No. Okay, so going to Kiss Me Fat Boy.
Kiss me, fat boy.
Just real quick, how do you think you would have rewritten it just a little bit to include the pedophile aspects of John Rainbird to maybe work better?
Okay, I would have tried to be subtle about it.
Yeah, I mean, he can't, like, waltz into her house and, Charlie, let's go to your parents' bed.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a woman of you, Charlie.
I would have had his like, we got to see some shoes, right?
Yeah, that was a nice Easter egg.
I would have shown, like, a lot more shoes. That, like, just simple fetishist shit.
Yeah.
But then, like, maybe if you pay attention in the background, you see shoes that definitely wouldn't fit this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you have the actor portray, like, he's looking at a picture of his target, and there's just something in the actor's eye. That's how you sneak that shit in there without outright saying it. That's how I would have done it.
Yeah, I can see that. I like that they included the fact that he has a bunch of shoes at all.
Oh yeah, no, me and you were both like, hey, it's the thing he loves.
I feel seen.
That's the thing they decided to keep.
So, and while we're talking about Easter eggs, that's a bit of an Easter egg. We mentioned the denim jacket Drew Barrymore wore one, also Randall Flagg. The crow, which was in the trailer but not in the movie. One I wanted to, right at the beginning of the movie, where she's a baby in the crib and she has the planets hanging over her.
The sun.
Yeah, it's like they mentioned that she could someday control the sun.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite lines in the book.
Or there was also another one where she could, like, crack the crust of the earth with her powers, and the first thing you see in the movie is her, like, torching some planets.
Yeah.
Which was cool. At that point, I was like, this movie is going to be badass.
It had a very strong opening, honestly.
Yeah, and I thought the first act was the best part of it.
I did feel like, I was like, they're really trying to write this as a horror movie, and I'm like, that's fine. You know, like, it has Stephen King on the name, so that's what people are expecting.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like it kept up with the promises that opening scene gave me.
It had a lot of writing issues and inconsistencies, and it was
a few directing problems.
Yeah, I'd say production-wise...
Has the director directed anything else?
Yeah, but I didn't recognize any of them, but maybe you will, because you watch more horror movies than I do. Okay, so...
I like his picture.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy. Okay, Arcane... so he wrote Arcane, The Vigil, and I Disappear, parentheses, When You're Near.
Mm-hmm.
He directed Arcane, The Vigil, I Disappear, Firestarter, and an episode of Cabinet of Curiosities.
No, I haven't seen any of that.
So, I mean, he only started... His first directing gig was in 2017.
So not prolific, but he has some experience.
Yeah. I would be willing to watch something else and see what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to judge a director just based off of one movie I've seen.
No.
I was just curious, like, if there was something I could compare it to.
No, he's relatively a newcomer.
Oh yeah, I also let's look up the IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Yes, I will.
Let's
I
do
don't.
this live.
I do not go by these. If I could erase one website from the planet, it would be Rotten Tomatoes.
Me too. But I'm just curious.
Ooh, IMDb 4.8 out of 10, and 1,000.3 people have rated it.
That's a lot of ratings.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes. Here we go.
It's honestly a little lower than I expected.
That's pretty low. I would give it more than a 4.3. And we've been talking smack on it this whole time.
Yeah, I mean.
12% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oof.
I would definitely give it higher than a 12%.
I mean, that just means that only 12% of critics liked it.
Yeah, I know.
What's the audience score? Let's
Only
click.
74% of critics like Doctor Strange. You fucking fuckheads.
I need to watch that still.
It's so good. It's so. I feel like it's.
I need to watch it before more memes spoil more scenes from it.
Oh my god, yes you do. Don't sleep. 52. That's
closer.
That's closer to where my feelings.
Yeah, I'm more of like I have 50-50 feelings on it. And I'm like, I think half the audience will like this movie and half is not going to.
There's some stuff I really like. There's some stuff I really don't like.
And there's some changes I definitely would have made.
Yeah.
And there are some things that they did that I thought was like, yeah, that's good.
Okay, Kings and Koontz.
Am I first?
Yeah.
King the cat, because that just took me aback so much.
The scene was great.
And my Koontz is the eye condoms, because I do not understand the purpose. I understand the purpose in universe. I don't understand, like, you're sitting there writing a script and going, how do we get Andy to not use his powers on people? And your first thought is science fiction contact lenses.
Yeah, it was awkward. My king is how they portray the push, and slash that it ends with him pushing her, where she ends up murdering him and murdering Cap.
Yeah.
I loved all of that. And then I think my Koontz has got to be the end. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? Like,
Charlie, come with me. We shall now live together.
You will be my child bride. She goes on this killing rampage, which she does in the book and the original movie, but it's more earned in that.
Yeah.
Like, they definitely, like you said, they try to portray her more of a creepy kid. It says in the book that she enjoys her powers, but in this one, like, the first time you see her as a 12-year-old is she's literally sitting in the dark playing with a lighter, fetishizing fire.
Yeah.
So
I thought the whole movie was going to be that. Which
kind of turns her into a pyro.
Yeah. Which would have been... I think that would have been fine if you would have rewritten if you would have just used the book as an inspiration and then rewritten the whole story. I thought, like, seeing the trailer, I was just going to get Carrie, but with fire.
Yeah. So I tend to... I think I like adaptations more when they're either super true to the book or where it's just kind of the book is an inspiration and they just kind of do their own thing with it.
Yeah.
When it's kind of like this mixed bag of the two is when I feel like I really don't like it.
Yeah, it's harder for me to justify the changes.
Yeah.
Because they want their cake and eat it too. Sort of nonsense, yada yada.
And it definitely, like, I don't want to put this as a criticism because I'm a huge fan of superhero movies, but it was just so obvious that it was written for...
And they kept bringing it up. They invited the comparison.
You're the first superhero, Charlie.
People ask me, well, why haven't you seen the new Doctor Strange yet? I'm like, well, because literally every movie now is a superhero movie, and I get kind of bored.
Yeah, but this one's better than the past 2 years. For that, you
Okay.
really, really got to see this movie. This is the most, other than Evil Dead, this is the most Sam Raimi movie I've ever seen.
Okay, see, I was gonna go see it because of Sam Raimi, because I'm a huge fan of that director. I haven't got around to it.
You really need to. Plus, there's like some huge bombs that you don't want spoiled. I'm sure you've already had some of them spoiled, but
I had the what mouth spoiled already. That meme popped up literally the day the movie came out for me.
that was not even on my radar of what I'm talking about.
Okay, well then.
That's nothing.
Okay, that's nothing.
That is nothing.
All right. Well.
Yeah, you just need to see it. Yeah, it's great. Way better than Firestarter.
Sorry, Firestarter, you're probably going to lose at the box office this weekend.
Yeah, let's look up the budget. The original one had I think 15 million. Ooh, okay, so Firestarter 1984, $15 million budget. Opening weekend was 4.7 million. Total gross was 17 million. So
That's really bad.
That's really bad.
You got to make about double what your budget was in order to be considered profitable.
Yeah, and
or to break even.
Remember, was this the one that they were going to have John Carpenter for, but they fired him for the thing underperforming?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's kind of funny that they have his music now.
Yeah. So he kind of got there in the end.
Maybe. I mean, I'll listen to the soundtrack before I'll watch the movie again.
I would watch it again, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it again.
I'm definitely going to see Doctor Strange before I see this again.
I'm not going to see it again in theaters. No.
Yeah,
but I'll watch it again at home. They don't have the budget on here, so let's Google that real quick. What was the budget of Firestarter 2022? Just brings the IMDb page. Is Firestarter a remake? Why is Firestarter rated R? Is Firestarter a good movie? Financial information, Firestarter.
They probably wanted to keep those numbers as under wraps as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always easy to find what the budget of a movie is. Weekend predictions, Doctor Strange set for an easy $62.6 million.
I mean, I guess we'll be able to find out after this weekend what its weekend earnings were.
Yeah. So maybe we'll follow that up in our next episode. We'll see.
Yeah.
Just real quick, again on Doctor Strange. I saw this ad. I don't know what I was using, but there was an ad. It's the #1 movie in the world. It's like, when was the last time a Marvel movie wasn't the #1 movie in the world?
Black Widow.
No, that was the #1 movie in the world.
Really? Wow.
I mean, I would assume it was at one point or another. Wiki Black Widow. I mean, because that just means #1 movie in the world just means it made
the most money
that week.
That week, yeah.
Yeah. So
What came out that week?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like very few movies were coming out. So just looking, you should see Black Widow 2. Is very good.
I hate Scarlett Johansson. I think she's a horrible actress.
How have I known you this long and I've never heard that opinion out of you?
I don't know.
So the budget was $200 million and it made $379.6, so almost double. You also kind of have to take into consideration that this was still pretty deep in the pandemic.
Yeah, this was early pandemic.
Yeah, so a lot of people probably didn't go, but I mean, still like almost $400 million.
Yeah. I remember Scarlett Johansson suing Disney and me thinking that was really, really funny.
Because of them putting it on Disney Plus and because she was supposed to get X% of the box office.
Yeah.
And then that was affected by them putting it on Disney Plus, which you could pay an extra $10 to see it on Disney Plus, but she didn't get any of that money.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just found that entire situation like super funny, and watching like what side of the aisles people were taking.
I mean, I don't care. That's the like.
I don't care who wins in the end. I just like to watch the chaos.
I don't. It stresses me out, and that's like I'm in our household. I watch the Russia-Ukraine coverage, and Beck watches the Johnny Depp Amber Heard coverage. I can't watch that because it's stupid and it stresses me out. But she can't watch the Ukraine stuff.
I watch both, so.
I don't want to know anything about celebrities and their personal lives, like almost ever. There are some exceptions, like Mark Hamill, but they are few and far
Let me
between.
see Mark Hamill being wholesome.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's time to rank this. Okay, so
I like that little side tangent we just went on.
I hate celebrities. I want to see them in movies, but I don't want to know about their bullshit. Okay, so my list right now is The Mist 2007, Firestarter 1984, The Mist TV series, Firestarter 2, Stan 2020, Stan 1994, X, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, Phantoms, and yours is The Mist 2007, Firestarter 1984, X, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, The Mist TV series, Firestarter 2, Stan 1994, Stan 2020, Phantoms. I think it's your turn to go first. It's hard.
This one's a little bit harder. It's going below Firestarter Rekindled for sure, because that I was way more entertained.
Yeah, same.
It's above Phantoms.
Yeah.
So it's a question of, is it below the Stan 2020 or above it for me? I don't know. I found Harold it's right above Phantoms. I liked Harold's portrayal enough to rank it above this Firestarter.
Yeah. So it's second from the bottom on your list, just above Phantoms and below the Stan 2022.
Yeah, I made a joke about it being worse than Phantoms before we went to see it, but I can't justify saying it's worse than Phantoms.
No, it's definitely not. As I'm looking at my list again, I feel like I was very unfair to Gotham by Gaslight. So I'm going to retroactively bump it up another spot.
That's fair.
I think I'm going to keep doing that until it's closer to the top. I don't think it was great, but I just feel like I was so mad.
Until you come to terms with the villain Jim Gordon.
And then I'm going to put Firestarter third from the bottom, above Phantoms and X, and under Gotham by Gaslight. That's where I'm going to put it. So we should do we should take some bets on how long it's going to take to watch something worse than Phantoms.
God, what do we have coming up?
So what we've announced are Woe, the It miniseries, and the 2 It movies. As much as I dislike It Chapter 2,
that might be it for me. I'm gonna rewatch it with an open mind, but
I don't think I could say It Chapter 2 is worse than Phantoms. But I'll wait until I rewatch it again to make.
I'm gonna have to see the Spider Clown again.
I feel like if I say that Phantoms is better than It Chapter 2, it's going to be doing it out of spite.
And then we'll have to keep bumping it up.
Yeah.
Dog Soldier's definitely better.
Yeah, we're doing a 20th anniversary. Okay, so that documentary, the Pennywise, the Story of It, that was a Kickstarter thing, and it was supposed to release last year, and they still haven't put out the Blu-rays, and there's no digital version of it. The only people who can watch it are people who backed it and are getting the Blu-rays, but they haven't shipped the Blu-rays yet.
Man, I would have backed that if I'd known about it.
Yeah, and you cannot back it any longer.
Yeah.
Presumably, once the Blu-rays go out, somebody will put it, like a pirated copy of it online.
Yeah.
But they haven't shipped them yet, so we can't watch it.
Yeah.
So I replaced that on our schedule with Dog Soldiers, because Dog Soldiers had its 20th anniversary 4 days ago.
And it's a great movie.
Yeah, and it's a favorite of both of ours, so we'll do that just to kind of break up the It coverage. But yeah. So yeah,
it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a while before Phantoms loses its championship.
Maybe we'll watch Dog Soldiers and just both be like, wow, this is just not what I remembered. It's terrible. No, that's probably not going to happen. Okay, so question for the listeners. Hit us up on our socials. If the Kingverse became its own cinematic universe, and this is kind of the beginning of it. Let's say Cap didn't die, and she becomes kind of like the Amanda Waller, and she starts tapping people to join her team. And
Suicide Squad, Stephen King.
She starts with Charlie McGee. I want you guys to reach out and tell me who would your Suicide Squad, your Revengers team of King villains be. I'm definitely interested to know. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you have.
Charlie rides Cujo into battle.
Okay, and then upcoming on the Horror of Babylon next week, It Part 3. And then the following Sunday, we are doing Woe, which is the Indian adaptation of It. That's the first Sunday in June. The next Sunday is It Part 4, June 19th, our Dog Soldiers 20th anniversary special, which we will do a lot of fanfare for. And then the last Sunday in June is It Part 5, our final episode on the book. First Sunday in July, we are covering the It miniseries, which I am so pumped for. And then second Sunday, July 10th, Rumiko Takahashi's Mermaid Saga. It Chapter 1 on July 17th, Carmilla on July 24th, and It Chapter 2 last Sunday of July. So I'm looking forward to all of this, even It Chapter 2. Even though I'm not a fan of the movie, I'm still looking forward to discussing it.
Yeah, well, it'll be some good content, if nothing else.
Also, I'm going to give whoever ends up being on that episode, I'm going to give everybody the homework of coming up with 5 compliments.
5 compliments for It Chapter 2.
Which, it sounds hard, but I like, okay, the bleacher scene,
Yeah.
the Adrian Mellon scene.
Can I count each of the actors I like as one?
I guess so. The King cameo.
The King cameo is good.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that hard to come up with 5, but just, I don't want us to, like, completely trash it the entire time.
Just an hour of us
dumping on it, yeah.
Dumping on it.
I don't like it when other people make me feel bad about liking a movie, and I don't want to make anybody feel bad if you like It Chapter 2.
You're so kind-hearted.
I know.
It's very admirable.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah. I'm a cutie pie. What can I say?
Your cutie mark is a little heart.
No, my cutie mark is a Gundam head.
Okay, that's better.
That's been established for many years. What's your cutie mark?
I don't know.
You haven't thought about this?
I know that my ex-wife made her cutie mark a star throwing up.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
That's on brand.
Yeah. I don't know what she has it as now.
Yeah, I don't want to know. All right, I think we just hit an hour, so thank you very much for coming with me tonight to the movie and to our recording. If I didn't mention it earlier, we saw the movie Friday of release at like a 9 o'clock showing, and then came straight to the studio to record. So thank you for this 3 to 4 hour commitment.
It made my night.
All right, well, thank you everybody for listening. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
And now for the obligatory socials. Like, share and subscribe. Blah blah blah. Follow Daniel at DStarSick on Twitter. Follow Ryan at Darth Daimyo on Twitter. Find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Goodreads. Become part of the community by joining the Facebook group or asking for our Discord link. Email us at thehorrorofbabylonpodcast@gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/thehorrorofbabylon. You can listen to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music, Stitcher, and Podcast Addict. I need a drink.